Hey guys, it's your boy HarryWilmington here, introvertdatingsuccess.com, and today we have another interview we're doing. This man goes by the name of Lloyd, aka The Single Guy. He has a channel on YouTube called TheSingleGuy. Lots of great videos giving guys awesome advice, and I'm a fan, so I had to reach out and say, hey, I'd love to have you on my channel, just talk about things dating, talk about the kind of advice that you give, and how you feel about the whole dating world in general. So Lloyd, welcome to the show.
It's great to be on, Harry. Thanks for having me, man.
Appreciate you stopping by today. I like to start off by asking all my guests about just your early life, what dating was like for you before versus what it is now, and kind of like what that transition was for you and how you got to where you now have an actual YouTube channel for all this stuff.
So, yeah, I mean, my story goes way back, man. I was always kind of a very introverted person. I was someone who, when you had to talk to somebody else, I felt very weird about it. I thought for the longest time that there was always something that was like wrong with me, like maybe just people didn't like me, or maybe there was something that I was doing incorrectly. And so I went through a lot of life trying to figure out what that was. I'm a very technical guy. I'm a guy who has grown up doing a lot of sciences. I was very good at math and very good at I did physics when I was in college. So I was a guy who really enjoyed the logical side of things. And when it came to person-person interaction, it's so complicated that it doesn't seem very logical at times. And it was something that I felt like I just didn't understand. And so I made it my mission. I think it was around like end of high school when I really started to get curious about this. What is it that made other people popular and other people not popular? What is it that made certain guys do well with women? And what is it that made certain guys not do well with women? And around that time, all the pickup stuff was coming out.
Yeah.
And so I gravitated towards that because nobody was providing answers. So for a long time, I spent time like consuming that material. It does do some good things, but I think it falls short in a lot of areas. And ultimately, I wish at that point in time there had been better resources, maybe more healthy resources for a guy like myself going through that period. And it took me years before I was able to really kind of find the truth. And the truth isn't so clear cut. I think the guys that were teaching stuff at around that time were suffering from a lot of the same problems that I was suffering from. So it's kind of like the blind leading the blind. And so what I decided that I was going to do was I was going to take a more like well-rounded approach, talk about things that was not just very, very pickup oriented, but more so just how to be a better, like more social guy, and things that actually work, like practical tips that actually worked, because not every guy wants to be like a pickup artist or any of that sort of stuff.
Oh, true.
But they do want to have success with women, or a lovely woman. And so what were the things that those guys did that made them successful? Actually, yeah, sure, you can walk up and talk to a girl, and the way you present yourself is going to be something that's very compelling. So there's certain guys who know how to do it, and there's certain guys who don't know how to do it, but that's only one piece of the puzzle. There are some guys who aren't very good at walking up and talking to women, but they have an incredible dating life. And maybe it's because they organize their lifestyle in a certain way where women come to them, so they don't have to walk up and talk to women that much. Maybe they are just someone who has like a certain kind of job or a lifestyle that, again, women gravitate towards. Okay, there's a lot of other ways that you can go about it, and it doesn't have to just be the pickup stuff that we learned back in the day, which I think can have problems for a lot of people that when they try and emulate this stuff, they end up coming off. I found a lot of guys that went through that process just end up getting weirder and creepier, and so that's why I decided to change my channel to something different. I saw a couple channels that were getting close, and I decided to make mine kind of like a whole something that was more centered around practical and actionable results, stuff that actually worked for me. Because I know me myself, I went out a lot, talking to a lot of different people. I think during the age of 21 to like 26, I was going out like 4 or 5 nights a week, something like that. Yeah, I was going out a lot.
As an introvert. Wow.
Yeah, as an introvert. Oh, I guess that does answer part of your question. So that's how I stopped becoming as introvert. I literally just forced myself to do it. Now, if you are an introverted person, though, that doesn't necessarily mean that's the only way. What you want to do is you want to bring people into an environment, or put yourself in an environment that you feel comfortable in. Every introverted person has interest, whether it's like you doing like an anime watch party, you go to like a cosplay event, or maybe you're just doing an activity or a sport or whatever that you feel good at, you feel competent in. I find that introverted people, they tend to do well in the environments that are actually interesting to them, or around people that they know. So being able to construct those environments, I think, is very important.
And also, I imagine too, like Because I know for me being an introvert, as I get more comfortable doing certain actions, they become less anxious inducing and they become actually more fun. So like, even if you might have been comfortable in the beginning going out a lot, as you do that more, it becomes like second nature to you, to where that's not something you fear, but now something that's like, oh, this is an activity I don't mind doing and I'm good at it. So I can do it for might be 3 or 4 hours, but you can do it in enough time to be able to meet women and get some of the results that you want.
Right. Well, that's cool, man. Do you have any hobbies or interests? Like, what do you like to do?
Me in general, I mean, it's funny because most of my dating was online dating. So I got really, really good real quick because I wasn't the guy that would go out and try to meet people, because I'm analyzing like, well, do they want me to talk to them? Are they going to match my lifestyle? And I found that was a lot easier to do with people online that had profiles. As I got better at online dating, I actually became better at in-person dating, because it was like running simulators. You know, you're approaching online, you're saying things online, you're trying out things. Then you get to like, I'd go to party situations and be able to get like the hottest girl in the room because I now knew what to do. So that's when going to parties became very fun.
Yeah, I do online dating. I talk a lot about online dating now. I just threw myself into the deep water, and that's how I figured it out. Just basically like putting myself in like the most like random scenarios, just like being around people, you know, that you don't know and that you have to meet. And you know, if you don't make an impression on them, they'll probably go talk to somebody else.
And then speaking of that, actually, because with the online dating, a big part of that is messaging. And you have a lot of really great videos on your site in general, just about the whole texting thing. And so like when you first started out with the whole texting thing in general, because I mean, for me, I'm 39. It's like, so if like texting is a relatively new thing in terms of my particular generation. I know a lot of people do it now, but like when you first got into texting women, what were, I say, some of the mistakes you found yourself making, or some of the things that you needed to correct in order to have a better texting life with women that you were meeting?
People focus on the texting side of dating a lot. And it's understandable because we look at our phones a lot. We probably look at our phones more than we look at the girl that we're dating. And so we naturally gravitate to the things that we look at the most. The thing about texting, though, is texting is just a form of communication. So we communicate through a variety of different means in today's day and age, and texting is probably one of the biggest ones. I'd say you're probably going to send a lot more texts or spend a lot more time texting the person that you're seeing than you are going to be talking to them face to face, or even for a phone call. You know, I prefer a phone call. You know, when I'm dating someone, I like to talk to them on the phone a lot. Really, the basis of what makes a good text is what makes good communication. And so when you look at the whole thing, texting is just kind of a byproduct of good communication skills. And yes, there are going to be certain things that are different, but at the end of the day, that's more what you want to go for, is better communication skills. So if a guy has a question about texting, I always, you know, ask him, is this really about texting, or is this just, you know, you need to know how to communicate better? Okay. You know how to ask for things better. And also too, when are you not looking at your phone? What's going on in your head? Typically, if a guy sends a text message and he starts worrying about whether she's going to respond or was that the right thing, is that him being a bad texter, or is that him just being insecure overall? Is he just worried that this girl's not interested in him? So when the word texting is very popular on my channel, but the actual challenges that people face are a wide variety of them. Like, there are guys out there, you know, again, that if they could send the most wild and crazy and inappropriate things that you'd possibly imagine, and they get away with it.
Yeah.
But overall, these men are usually confident, and they're not insecure. And so it works. But a lot of times when guys don't have that confidence, they're looking for the correct formula. So instead of going for what they want, they go for what they think the woman wants. And as a result, they end up having problems when you're doing that. So the first suggestion that I would go for a guy who has texting issues is, you know, what do you want? Okay, what do you want to send the person that you're talking to? A lot of times guys will say, oh, I just want to get her out on a date. I'm like, cool. Ask her on a date.
A lot of guys have this thing, they want to try to get to know her better through text. How do you feel about that kind of thought process?
I think it's good. I think it works. The problem is that if you don't actually want to get to know her, that's not what you should be sending. You have to want to get to know the person. And if you don't want to get to know the person and you just want to meet up with them to hook up, that could be fine. But I don't think that a lot of women are going to go for that. There are some women who just want to hook up. If you're out in the city and you're going out a lot and you're projecting that vibe, there might be just girls who want to hook up with you. That's cool. But a lot of times girls will want to get to know the guy a little bit more. And hopefully if you're going to hook up with somebody, you know, you want to get to know or date them. You know, you want to ask them out on a date. You want to get to know them a little bit more too. So yeah, absolutely. Again, that comes back to going after what you want. And if you're a guy who doesn't care about, meeting or talking to and learning about the people that you're about to meet, you probably should do that. I mean, me personally, I'm going for what I want because look, if I'm going to show up on a date, I better know that person's cool. I better know that they're going to be interesting to talk to. I better
Right.
know that they're a caring and comfortable person, and that they're actually someone that I would enjoy spending, 2 to 3 hours with, or however long your date's going to be. I'm not going to waste a Saturday night or even a Thursday night hanging out with someone who I don't know if they're going to be cool or not. And a lot of
Mhm.
guys think, well, isn't the date the time that you get to know and figure out if the person is going to be cool? You could, but that's like doing door-to-door sales when it comes to your dating life. I don't want door-to-door sales routine. I want a warm lead. I want to know it's going to be good if I'm actually meeting up with somebody. So often I'll even talk to women that I'm talking to on the phone before I
Okay.
meet up with them. I'll text them a little bit to figure out if they're like cool or not. I'm judging them, and I'm figuring out if they're giving me the attention I want, if they're giving me the kind of responses that I'm looking for. Like they seem like they're a nice person. They seem like they're actually interested in me, and they have cool hobbies or whatever. Like that's what I'm looking for, man. And also
Oh, yeah.
too, if it's online dating, you want to know what she looks like your picture. So sometimes a little FaceTime call might not
Like
work,
a
might
little
not
video.
hurt either.
I know that was very popular last year, was doing the video calls like, hey, because we really couldn't go out like that. Like, hey, let me check and see if you are who you say you are.
On some of my dating profiles, they even have let's like do a FaceTime call or something like that. I always do like a call to action. They know that that's what I'm trying to do. And look, there are going to be some women out there that don't want to talk on the phone, but if she's not willing to answer the phone call, if she's not willing to actually talk to you on the phone, like how likely is it do you think that person is going to meet up with you in real life? I have met a few, but not that many, man. And they usually make it pretty clear over text that they're willing to meet.
What were some of your early dating struggles or communication things with women that you had to overcome?
Oh, I was really nervous, and I was suffering from a lot of things that I talked about, which is like I wanted to say the right thing. So I would
Mm.
filter a lot of the stuff that I wanted to say, but what I was doing was I was preventing a large part of my personality from being shown. The women that I've dated, and had the privilege of dating some amazing women, like they liked my personality. I can be a little harsh and a little a little sarcastic sometimes, sometimes pretty intense. You can tell by my eyebrows. But basically, they accepted me for that. And when I expressed that side of myself, like that's when I was the most attractive.
Mhm.
Problem is too many guys that they don't actually think that they don't have the confidence to think that they're attractive, and so they don't express themselves in the right way. So if I would go out and I would just kind of be me and joke and make inappropriate comments occasionally, you want to. There's obviously a little bit a certain
There's
portion of
like
it has to
levels
be
to it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
has to be manners and stuff like that. So there is a little bit of a learning curve there, but at the end of the day, you're better off just expressing yourself and saying what you want to say, and a lot of times that authenticity will turn you into the person that is going to be the most attractive. Okay, when women say just be yourself, that's really what they mean, but they don't tell you how to be authentic. There's no blueprint that the mainstream has come out with. I'm giving you the blueprint to be able to do this, and that's what I do with each of my clients. And I'm sure maybe you in your own journey, like at least a portion of you is the quest to become your most authentic self. I assume, right, Harry?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, and I think, and I told guys all the time. I did a video recently where I said I think problem a lot of guys have is we hear from women, just be yourself, and they're not aware that the current version of ourselves could be one that is like anxious and wants to tell all of our
Right.
feelings of the stuff. And it's like, no, we have to become a better version of that, and one that's more understanding of what's going to be beneficial to them and what they need and don't need from us at certain parts of the dating journey. So I
Right.
always tell women, like, hey, like when you tell it to guys, you're aware, like they think right now they're actually being themselves, and that's the problem, is that the selves that they are isn't one that has become the best version of themselves to get women.
I first started going out thinking that myself sucked, so I'm gonna try and be somebody else. So I would emulate and I would say things that other people said,
Okay.
totally inauthentic. Okay, didn't really work, fell flat, and on top of that, I was getting frustrated and I wasn't having fun. I
Mm.
wasn't having fun doing the things that I wanted to do, so I was getting tired when I was going out all the time because like I wasn't being myself. If I would go on a date with a girl, like it would be exhausting because I was trying to portray a certain character that wasn't who I was. So then I abandoned that and I said, look, I'm not getting results now. Let's just go out and let's just like be our authentic self, which to be fair is a little rough on the edges sometimes. So I was doing this and I would say just what I wanted to say and I would kind of have fun. Sometimes I was a little mean spirited. I actually got some results from that somehow. But what I learned was, okay, certain things worked and certain things didn't. I was learning how to be my best self. My best self are the sides of myself that most people can connect with. You know, mostly positive versions of yourself are going to be the things that connect with other people. So it was learning how to be more positive, more empathetic. And eventually what happened was I went out so much that I actually learned to be interested in other people, and that became who I was. And so that kind of guy is actually going to be a lot more attractive. So my authentic self, as it was right then, you're correct, it wasn't exactly what it is now. And but it was certain parts of it were. So
Mm.
to figure out which parts worked and which parts didn't, I had to try and I had to experiment. The problem is most guys, usually when they've expressed their authentic self, it's been shut down. And so they don't even try. They never try again. And so
Yeah.
they don't
Yeah.
actually see that there are certain sides of themselves that work. So what I do with a lot of my clients is I'll pick on certain things like maybe you seem like a very genuine and curious guy. That's an awesome quality. Like emphasize that
Mm.
trait, and that's going to make you more attractive. And if I see a client who has a similar thing, I'll tell the same thing for them.
Trying to figure out yourself, and you might go to a woman and be yourself and she might not like it. The hard part is taking and saying, okay, just because this one woman is not accepting me as I am, that does not mean that I'm a bad person, right? Other women will not. It could just be her,
Right,
right?
right,
Like,
right.
I could say it.
Absolutely.
I could say an off-color joke to one woman and she'd be like, "Oh my god," but then the next five are totally fine with it, or don't even see it as a big deal. So it's like it's even having to go through that of not just giving up after that first response that you get, because most of the time the first response you get is going to be like you're trying some new stuff out and you're like, "Oh, you're not comfortable, but you're building towards it." But to take that first no and just be like, "Oh, that's it. Women don't want me. This sucks. I'm not," like that's really killing the game also for guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, man, like even if a woman doesn't like you right at the beginning, like I've had so many women that hated my guts when I first started talking to them. I don't know if you've had this where a girl hates your guts
Yes.
when you first start talking to her, and then later on she starts warming up to you, and then she starts actually liking you. I mean, that's the story of every single romantic comedy out there. Like
Yeah.
I can't tell you the number of ones where the guy first starts talking, woman doesn't like him, she thinks he's a pig, she thinks he's whatever, and then eventually they end up getting together in the end because she learns to appreciate like who he is and learns to like him for who he is. It's okay if people don't like you right away, man. That's not what your job is. Your job is to be your best authentic self and give value to others. And sometimes people don't see it right at the beginning. That's all right. It's not your fault. What you can do is you can look at the big picture and just make sure long term that you are truly providing value for people. And if you turn around, you got no friends, you got no people that like you probably might need to change a few things. But don't the initial reactions are that they change
Yeah.
very quickly.
And also on the back of that too, especially with women, like let's say she doesn't like your first impression is not the best for her, whatever. Usually the mistake guys will make is they'll try to now change themselves to be a different version that they think she'll like. But the guys that just stay who they are, it's like then the woman starts ending up liking who they are because they're not changing. They're being their authentic self. And they're like, oh, this guy's actually this way. And I'm kind of like starting to like it because he's not allowing how I feel about him to change him. Now I want to follow his lead and be with him.
And women can pick up on that too, actually. If they notice that you've changed like immediately to try and figure out what they like, it's very unattractive to them. They're not into that. They like a guy who stays firm and goes for what he for who he is. They'll go for that guy 9 times out of 10 than the guy that tries to change himself for somebody else.
We're in a weird time now where obviously last year we had the pandemic happening, and so there weren't a lot of people that were going out. I was still personally dating and having a great time, but there are definitely people that weren't going out. And now the thing is starting to open back up. Like, how do you think the dating scene is going to be for guys now? And then what can they be doing to position themselves to be able to get back into this dating market? And because there's plenty of women out there now that are like, hey, I've been cooped in a house for a year and I want to go out there and date. And they're like, where are all the men at? And men are still kind of like hesitant and anxious. Like, how can they kind of get over that and just and start taking advantage of this dating market that's become upon us now?
What I think is going to happen is I think people are actually going to take some time to figure it out and getting back in, because it's like when you break up with somebody and you immediately go back into dating, like you're too emotional. It's not usually not a good idea to be going out there right away and just hooking up with a bunch of people. Although a lot of people tend to do that.
Yeah.
Same thing I think with when you've been locked up for a long time. The way you've been thinking has been in this quarantine brain, and then you come back out and you just go from 0 to 100 real fast. You're probably going to make mistakes. You're probably going to make some decisions that, are not good. Maybe your game's going to be off. Maybe you're going to be coming out with like, you don't know what to say or do. When it comes to men and women, I think there's going to be a learning curve when people are getting back into the swing of things. Because, people have been out for a long time, so it's going to take them a little bit of time to get back to the way things were. It won't happen right away. So I think if you're coming out of it, be patient. Don't put any expectations on yourself. Don't be like, oh, summer of sex or summer of dating, I'm just going to let loose and date a bunch of women. Um, give yourself some time, get back in the swing of things, and then start worrying about that stuff later.
So as the guys and stuff are going out there, what would be your top 3 like must to do tips for approaching women, whether it's approaching them in person, approaching them online? Like what are like your 3 really good things that men need to know or do to really give them a better chance at being successful when they approach?
Cool. Yeah, that's a good question. First tip for sure, if you're going out talking to women, don't try and pick them up. Don't think about the pickup. Just think about having a conversation with somebody and seeing if they're a cool person, seeing if they're someone that you want to continue the interaction with. Okay. If you go in with all these expectations, like you see a pretty girl or something like that, and you walk up and you think, oh, I'd love to, chat with this woman and get her phone number and then go on a date with her, and you start thinking 10 steps ahead, well, you're not going to be able to complete the first step because I don't know if you've ever done this, if you ever walked up a flight of stairs and you look up at the top and you take your first step and you trip. It happens all the time to people. Why? Because they're looking at the step that's, way far into the distance and not the one that's right in front of them. So Don't trip and fall. Think about the first step. Just think about having a conversation with a person. Okay, that's the first tip. Tip 2, if you are walking up and talking to a woman or anyone in particular that you feel like is going to be a good match for you, or you feel like you'd like to get to know this person a little bit better, ask about them. Ask about who they are and what they do. And I generally would recommend that you go for go for questions that are more logistic based. Ask her what she's doing, that day, or where she lives. Not exactly where she lives. I'll make it creepy like that. Like, hey, you from the area? You from the area? You from LA or something like that? Like that would be a better question to ask. Okay. And the last one is going to be another logistical tip. Start first. Be the first person to start talking. When I start approaching or talking to random people, or even someone that's like I kind of know but maybe don't, I take the lead on it. I let them know what I'm up to and what I'm doing, and I see how they react to it. And if they seem like they're interested, then I invite them to come do something, and then I ask them what they're doing. Like, that's how you kind of get things forward, is you want to lead by example. What I find that a lot of guys do is they walk up and the conversation becomes very, very awkward when they first walk up. My conversations are not that awkward when I first walk up to somebody. Yeah, sure, sometimes there's that little bit of, I don't know this person. But honestly, like I have a program where I actually record myself talking to women. Like most of them are very, very calm conversations, and a lot of times the woman will be asking me for my phone number at the end. It's not me asking for it. Right. Why? Because the conversation transitions so smoothly. I tell them what I'm doing and they become interested, and then I invite them to come do it with me, and they're like, oh well, I'd love to. Like, what's your phone number? Like, let's connect. It just transitions very smoothly into that. Really, all you're doing is you're finding cool people to connect with and possibly spend time with in the future. And if you understand the goal, then you can get to it a lot easier than a guy who's thinking, oh, and I have to try and build the attraction to a certain level so she'll sleep with me. That's not how it works. Sex and dating, it evolves naturally from just doing things with people that you find cool and attractive. So that's really what it is.
For introverted guys, a lot of time, because we're analyzing all the time, we can be in our head in these interactions trying to figure out, okay, so how can I tell at what point that she likes me? So what are signs that guys can look for to be able to know whether they're wasting their time, or if the girl's legitimately, if not all the way interested yet, is building interest to where she'd at least give them a phone number or go out with them?
All right, so I pay attention to like their attention. If they're paying attention to me, body language is usually the biggest indicator of whether a person wants to speak with you or not. This is what usually happens. Probably the first 2 questions you ask. The first 2 questions. This is, by the way, this scenario is if like you just started talking to a random woman at a coffee shop, or you talk to her at the beach, or even at a bar or something like that. Okay, they're gonna be a little surprised that you started talking to them. There's gonna be that little bit of not sure. Make it past that stage. Be totally calm, comfortable, and just keep the conversation going. If after that they are still with their body language turned away from you and they're still going back to their friends or talking to somebody else, leave them alone. Talk to somebody else. But you usually got to bust through those. Like, you'll walk up and you'll be like, hey, I just saw you over there. I thought I'd come say hi. My name's Lloyd. Nice to meet you. And then they'll like just be like, oh, hey, cool. And then I'll be like, yeah, how's your day going, or something like that, or like, what have you been up to? Or actually, usually I'll just start talking about what I'm doing, and then I'll ask her what she's doing. If I ask her what she's doing and she's kind of like not really giving me that just much response, and then I ask her like where she's from, if she's from, like, I'm in LA right now, she's what part of LA she's from, or if she's from the city, and then she answers that question and she still turns back. That's 2 questions I asked her. She had ample opportunity to participate and, actually show that she was engaged, and she chose not to. Move on, talk to somebody else. Okay. I usually give them 2 because the first one, they're usually still surprised, and the natural inclination for someone when they're talking to somebody they don't know is to pull away.
Okay.
Is to pull away. So you give them the first one or two, and then usually I do like a 2-strike rule, and then if it's done with that, then I'm good. The only time I will stay is if I can tell they are interested to talk further, but they're just a little shy and they don't know what to say, or they don't know what to do. They're being self-conscious about
They
themselves.
can't lead the conversation.
Yeah, they're judging themselves rather than judging me. And if that's the case, then I will continue a little bit longer, just to give them that time to warm up to me a little bit more. And you get this with shy women and people who are shy all the time. So yeah, I give them that extra bit for those particular cases. But otherwise, yeah, you should probably move on and find someone else if they're not giving you any, not giving the attention, or their body language is facing elsewhere and they're clearly distracted.
Assuming that you get past that part, you're talking to for a little bit. At what point do you know it's okay to go for the number?
A lot of people think, okay, it's like we've been talking for a certain amount of time now, it's time to ask for the phone number. That's not really what I do. I need to have a reason to get the phone number. A good reason is just like, hey, you seem like a cool person. What's your phone number? What's your Instagram? Okay, that could be a reason. Another reason could be, hey, I just really enjoyed talking with you. I'd love to continue this conversation. I got to go right now, but like, do you have a phone number or WhatsApp or, social media or something like that? Another reason. A better one might be if you were talking about something that you were going to do later that day. I was at this place called Bungalow in Los Angeles.
No.
Yeah. No, I was at the Huntington. So we were at the one in LA, and then we went to the Huntington Beach one.
Okay.
I'm talking to a lovely woman. It's going great, but her friends don't like the guys in the venue that we're at. But she really likes me. I want to hang out with her, and she's like, "Oh, I gotta go." And I'm like, "You gotta go with your friends, huh?" She's like, "Yeah, I gotta go." And I'm like, "Cool. Well, tell you what, I'm gonna be around here for a little bit longer. Why don't you hang out with them for a little bit? Text me when you're done, and then just come back." And she's like, "That sounds great." And I'm like, "Cool." And then I took her phone, put my number in there. Had a reason to get it. When a lot of guys get a phone number or they get something from social media or whatever, they don't get a response because there wasn't a reason to get it in the first place. I always have a reason before I ask, which is why I can't remember the last time someone turned me down for a number or something like that. Even if they have a boyfriend, they'll give it to me because there's usually a reason for us to like stay in contact. I mean, not because I'm gonna try and sleep with her, but maybe It's because like I'm literally doing something fun and like her group should come hang out with us. If the reason is good, they'll always give it to you. But if the reason is not good, then they won't. So I talk about things that we can do in the future. And I'm always thinking about, okay, if I like this person, like if I want to spend more time with them, how are we going to do this? And I start thinking about that. Okay, in the example that I gave you, she's leaving for a little bit. Cool. She got to hang out with her friends. No problem with that. But I do want to see her after. So that's why I got the phone number.
Introverted guys always want reasons to do stuff anyway. So just like, okay, now I have a justification for asking for this versus just like, oh, I just want it because I just want it. Like now there's actually reasons behind it to where they can feel motivated to do it versus being so nervous about it. So
yeah, absolutely, dude. So like, don't think that like what happens with those guys, dude. I can tell they're in a conversation and they're thinking, okay, we've been talking for 5 minutes. Is it now okay? How do I ask for the phone number to get to the next level? You don't think about it like that, dude. Again, you're thinking about doing something with somebody else, whatever it is.
I totally used to do that too. Like, it's been 5 minutes now. I should be fine. And then it always make for an awkward transition. Like it's not a natural flowing transition. It's just like talk. Okay, get the number versus like, hey, we had a good conversation. I'm feeling we have a connection of some kind, and now I legit have to go. This is a good time to do that now.
When I'm talking to someone, I'm thinking about what kind of stuff we could do later. I'm thinking about like, hey, if I'm interacting with this person, what could I do with could she come hang out with us? Would she be a cool person to hang out with us later? Or maybe she can't hang out. Maybe we could do something else. Just get a drink together. Very simply. So, once you think about it and stuff like that, then the number is like a thing that you do as a result. It's a natural thing.
Well, these have been some fascinating. Like I could talk to you all day about like various dating stuff. And for those of you that have been to his channel, let me tell you, like I said, he has an abundance of stuff on his YouTube channel that can be very helpful for you guys that are trying to figure out this whole dating thing. So if there's let the audience know where they can find you on YouTube, online. If you have any programs, like you can give all that stuff.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for the blurb, man. Basically, my channel is The Single Guy, one word. I am not the single guy. That is just the channel that I run. So if you want information on like you're a guy who you don't have to necessarily be single, you can some guys in relationships, they can use my channel for some advice as well too. I give practical and actionable dating advice. So if you're tired of getting just kind of mainstream information or information that's a little too esoteric, I would definitely recommend that you check it out. So The Single Guy is my YouTube channel. If you want to find me on Instagram, my Instagram is a.single.guy. And then I'm even on TikTok now. I literally just started it. So it's A Single Guy, one word, on TikTok. I also have Facebook groups and various things. But yeah, those are the three that I would recommend that you check out.
Well, Lloyd, it's been a pleasure talking to you on this show, and thank you so much for agreeing to come. This has been a big thrill for me, so it's been great. And I'm sure my audience has learned a lot of information from you today, so thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Harry. Best of luck to you and everything that you're doing, and love to be back on whenever you want to have me.
Appreciate it. And that's all we got for today, guys. So if you guys have any questions for us, if you want to leave any comments down below, I'm always happy to answer those. And I'm sure if we have enough questions, we can, bring Lloyd back and answer some of those as well. But thanks for watching, and we will catch you guys later. Thank you for watching this episode of the Introvert Dating Success Show. If you found the info in this episode to be helpful, please show your support by clicking on the tip jar tab, the link of which can be found at the website and in the description below. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment on this episode, and catch new episodes right here on YouTube or wherever podcasts can be found. In the meantime, be sure to check out these other episodes so you too can learn to date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.